Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Vegas 62, and in the main event, we have a women's flyweight fight, Alexa Grasso versus Viviane Araujo, and this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction for this fight. And to be honest, I'm not super excited for this main event. Araujo versus Grasso does have some title implications. Both girls are ranked in the top 10. With the flyweight division and its lack of, contenders, the winner of this fight is going to be in a very good spot. But at the end of the day, I don't see either one of these girls beating Valentina Shevchenko for that women's flyweight title. And, this is a decent fight. Don't get me wrong. It's not a terrible fight. It's two high-level flyweights. There's title implications on the line, but I don't think it's main event worthy. But there is a lot of people who I have seen crapping on this card. And, I'm the first to crap on a UFC fight night if it's terrible. I hated Mackenzie Dern versus Yan Xiaonan. That card was terrible in general. But this is a decent fight card. UFC Vegas 62 is a solid fight card. Co-main event, I think, is Jonathan Martinez, Cub Swanson. You have Askar Askarov versus Brandon Royval, which is an amazing fight. I think this is the bout order. This is currently on Tapology. Sometimes the UFC switches it around a little bit. I think Askar Askarov versus Brandon Royval could easily be the main event. That's a contender fight in the flyweight division, and that's two highly ranked guys in the flyweight division. You have Misha Sukernov versus Alonzo Menenfield. You have Rafael Sunsao versus Victor Henry on the prelims. So overall, this is a decent fight night card, and this would have been even better because the original main event was Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier. Sean Strickland got an infection in his finger, had to pull out. That got rescheduled till December. So we were left with Grasso versus Araujo. Not the greatest main event, but I'm going to give you guys my full breakdown and prediction anyway. You look at the tail of the tape for this fight. You have Grasso, who's 14-3. Araujo's 11-3. Grasso is ranked number 5. Araujo is ranked number 6. Grasso is 29. Araujo is 35. Grasso is 5'5". Araujo is 5'4". Grasso has a 66-inch reach, and Araujo has a 68-inch reach. So pretty similar, just a massive youth advantage for Alexa Grasso. If you look at Viviane Araujo's resume, of her 11 wins, she has 3 by knockout, 4 by submission, and 4 by decision. So she wins her fights. Basically, there's no particular way that she likes to win her fights. You look at her last fight was against Andrea Lee, and that was in May of this year. And this was a fight where she had to overcome some adversity. She got rocked badly. I think she got clipped with a left hook. She got dropped, and then on her way back up, she got hit with a head kick, and then I think it was a right hand. She was hurt badly. She was almost finished. Andrea Lee followed her to the ground, started landing nasty hammer fist. Somehow she survives. Right after this entire sequence, she gets a massive slam takedown, and she ends up winning the fight. I mean, it's crazy. And she won the fight with her grappling, but she did okay in the striking department as well. And it just showed, she almost gets finished. I think it was in the first minute and a half of the first round. And then to come back and win, and, win pretty dominantly. I mean, it wasn't a real competitive fight after that. Was super impressive. Before that, she lost to Caitlin Chookagian at UFC 262, May of last year. Who isn't losing to Caitlin Chookagian? Probably the second best fighter in the women's flyweight division, depending on, where you put Talia Santos. So bare minimum, the third best. But Caitlin Chookagian is just beating everyone by decision. Just out-volumed Araujo in this fight. But this was a very competitive fight, and Araujo even got her down and had her full mounted at one point, was looking for a guillotine at one point. And this was a fight that I thought that Chookagian won, but it was a very competitive fight, and honestly, it could have been one of those fights where maybe, just maybe, the judges gave it to Araujo. Before that, a win over Roxanne Modafferi. What does that really mean? It means nothing. Before that, a win over Montana De La Rosa. Doesn't mean anything. And before that, a loss to Jessica Ai. You're getting back into December of 2019. How much does that really mean? I don't know. The resume isn't great. The best fighter she's ever faced in Caitlin Chookagian, she's lost to. She's getting up there in age, 35 years old at the women's flyweight weight class. I don't know how long she's going to be able to perform at a high level. Then you have Alexa Grasso, who's 29 years old. Of her 14 wins, she has 4 by knockout, 1 by submission, and 9 by decision. She comes into this fight on a 3-fight winning streak. Her last win was against Joanne Wood in March of this year, and this was a very impressive performance. She was beating her up on the feet. it was kind of a competitive fight, and then eventually gets her down and easily gets the rear naked choke. Like Joanne Wood had never trained BJJ in her entire life. That's what it looked like in this fight. And, I get it. She finished her in the first round. But, I think the biggest farce in MMA history is people pretending that Joanne Calderwood, or Joanne Wood is her new name now since she married, was a good fighter. I don't ever really think she was that good. I picked Grasso to win this fight. She went out there and basically dominated. I mean, there was some shots that landed from Wood, but it didn't really matter. Before that, she had a win over Macy Barber. This was a solid win. I don't think super highly of Macy Barber, but she went out there and did to Macy Barber what Macy Barber does to other people, and she pressed her against the fence. She out-grappled her for the majority of the fight. Macy Barber had some moments, but it was a fairly one-sided win for Alexa Grasso. And in this fight, it was dominant, but you also have the fact that Macy Barber was coming off an ACL surgery. Before that, a win over Ji Young Kim. I don't really know what to say about that one. It's a decent win, but nothing great. Her last loss on her resume is to Carla Esparza back in September 2019. Carla Esparza is the current strawweight champion, so there's not really, there's no problem with her losing to Carla Esparza. It's high-level competition. And also, this was in an entirely different division in the strawweight division. Alexa Grasso has since moved up 10 pounds to the flyweight division and since had 3 wins. Other losses on her resume, Felice Herrig, but that's all the way back in 2017. And she also lost to Tatiana Suarez, which a lot of people are very high on her if she can ever get healthy and come back to fighting. It seems like she's always injured. But that's not a terrible loss to have either, and she lost that fight via submission, and that's the only loss where she was finished in her entire career. When I look at this fight between Alexa Grasso and Viviane Araujo, I think, however this fight goes, I think one of these girls wins via decision. I have a hard time believing that either one of these girls gets a finish. If there was a finish in this fight, I think it would probably be by submission. Neither one of them have nasty power. If I had to give a power advantage, I'd give it to Araujo. If I had to give a slight speed advantage, I'd probably give it to Araujo. But Alexa Grasso is getting better. She's much younger. She's a very well-rounded fighter. I think both of these girls are very well-rounded fighters. I don't think they're particularly great at anything. I don't think either one of these girls is like a crazy elite grappler or a crazy elite striker. They're just a well-rounded MMA fighter. And that's why this fight is actually tough to pick. And I flipped back and forth on who I was picking for this fight. And I really wanted to pick Alexa Grasso because I said, you know what? She's 29 years old versus 35 years old Araujo. I always typically pick the younger fighter in matchups where it's almost like a coin flip. But I was looking at some of their recent fights, and I am going to go with Viviane Araujo via decision. I just think she's faster. I think she's got a little bit more power. I think, her grappling, I don't know who has the better grappling. I think they both have very good grappling. We've seen what Alexa Grasso did to Macy Barber, who's very powerful in the clinch, very powerful with the takedowns. But I think Araujo, she's looked very good with her grappling against Andrea Lee, with her grappling against Caitlin Jukagian. And I think basically their grappling is going to cancel each other out. And I think Araujo is just a little bit faster, has a little bit more power. I don't think either girl has this crazy dynamic striking. I don't think either one particularly mixes it up particularly well. I couldn't give an advantage in kicks. Neither one of them throw a whole lot of kicks. But if I had to say one way or another, I think Araujo throws a little bit more kicks, has some decent leg kicks as well. And I just think if, in your last fight against Joanne Wood, she's landing some shots, and I think she has the worst striking I've ever seen, or some of the worst striking I've ever seen. Looks like she trains with Juliana Pena. I just think that Viviane Araujo is going to go out there. I think she's going to press forward, and I think she's going to land the harder shots, and I think she's going to win rounds. I think this is going to be a close fight. Maybe, Alexa Grasso gets 2 rounds, but I'm going to go Viviane Araujo to take 3 rounds and win via decision. The one question mark in this fight is neither girl has ever gone 5 rounds. So it's going to be very interesting how their cardio holds up. But in the fights where they've gone 3 hard rounds, it hasn't seemed like either one of these girls was gassing out at the end of the 3rd round. So I got to go with Araujo. I also think, not that you can elevate a fighter off a loss, but Caitlin Jukagian is one of the best in the division. She fought her not that long ago, and she could have arguably won the fight. I don't think she won the fight, but it was very close. and that's a tough fighter. I think both of them have garbage resumes. Neither one of them has like a statement win. So I'm going Viviane Araujo. Again, she's going to press forward, just land the harder shots a little bit faster. I think the grappling is going to cancel each other out. I think Grasso is going to try to clinch up with her, push her against the cage, and take her down. Maybe she'll be successful. Maybe Grasso somehow comes out and surprises me and has the better grappling. But I think this fight is going to be on the feet. Grappling is going to cancel each other out, and Araujo is going to land the better shots. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do not forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.